What's going on, ladies and gentlemen of the internet? It's your boy Checkabag007, and welcome back to Stormworks Build and Rescue. This is version 1.2.2 Nuclear Coal / Steam update. Picking up where we left off with the last video, I've done some changes to the reactor. I've made a couple of controllers. Basically, I've got one here that'll give me data telling me, it basically just adds all of the fuel rods temperatures together and then divides them by that same number. And on our control panel, which hasn't changed all that much, we still have 5 control rods. We have the core temperature. I've gone ahead and named all of them. So FR's just fuel rod, then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, etc., etc. C1 would be control rod. CR2, 4. I need to fix that because it's going to hurt me. But we have all this here. I figured out the problem with the control rods. They have to be lined up with the top of where that channel starts. So I had them set at that 3 point. I needed them to be up at the 1 point because the fuel assemblies go down by 3 instead of just 1. Start at that top one. And to give you an idea, as you can see here, these are all right there. The control rods are. And further down in this, you'll have your rod. So that's what we did wrong. So I went ahead, I spent hours studying this, but I went ahead and moved all this, and now we're just on to other things. So we have the system plumbed in a rudimentary way. I have 2 of the boilers disconnected. I put a condenser, a turbine, and a small radiator, and a meh generator, like the medium generator. Right now we are waiting for the system to heat up, and one time we're waiting for this thing to produce the steam we're going to need, because right now we have this thing throttled. We're using the unit, the function block. I believe the center one is set to X divided by like 4, 5, 6,000, and then the rest of them. So like you're gonna have to dial this into whatever yours is. It took me hours to get it to where it runs stable at any amount, but I did fix my greater than, less than blocks. They seem to be working all right. Like I finally got them up to their V2 status, and now it should have greater than definitely, and then less than should also be there. Right now what we're working on is building a regulator valve, because I'm trying to figure out where the safe pressure inside the system is, because I've had this boiler explode twice. Not the fuel rods, not any of that. It was the boiler that blew up. So we're working on that. This was what we were using before. It is no longer there. I've replaced it with my regulator. This is a work in progress. It will be available pretty soon. Basically, I have it set to where if I'm having it dialed in now, we're basically doing the dial-in process as we speak. That's going to be the point of this episode, because at this point, this is simple plumbing, just all the way through. Pink indicates where the steam is going, which is why the turbine is painted that color. These will indicate pressurized, like radioactive water. There's a sensor there. That's just one of the older greater on-off signals. I haven't gotten to retrofitting this yet. We're going to start with 1 boiler at a time. Yeah, so pretty soon we're going to start building pressure. Now, allow me to explain what we're doing with this here regulator. So we have what I'm calling the upstream, which is the one coming out of the boiler, which will eventually, when I have this finished, it's going to tell you the upstream and the downstream and the source pressure, and it's going to compare odds. So I have it set to have a built-in function block inside of it. You can dial it in the way you want to, and that will also show. Right now I have it set to 1/10, so whatever this is doing, the valve only allows 1/10 of that pressure through, and that should keep the reactor from stalling on pressure. And if it overpressures, like if it's got a risk, that's when the light and the buzzer go off, and it will open this valve down here and dump some of the steam, which for now we're going to have it set to this so we can see if it works. But yeah, that's pretty much what we're doing. So I also have this modified to where it's on a signal where it has to go through these threshold gates here. The first one is for this particular boiler. When it hits 100 pressure, it'll allow water into that to start boiling. 200 will go up there, and 300 will go to the one beside it, and it'll start doing its thing. So here, once it hits 100, we should get a lock on this. And if we don't, then we'll be able to look here. So it's a secondary in case this is damaged or is not being observed. I am just now working on this. Like within the last hour, I started building this. So I do not know if it works yet. I'm hoping, because, you know, it took me a little frustration. I had to put my daughter down for bed. She's currently passed out behind me on the bed with her milk her milk cup in her hand, like tight vice grip or whatever. Like she's properly broke, so I'm trying not to be too awfully loud. I've been reading people's comments on the last 2 videos I've uploaded, and I appreciate the tremendous support, because of you guys I've gained closer to 40 subscribers, so that is fantastic. I appreciate every last one of you. Sound off if you're new down below, by the way. I'd love to hear from you. And a lot of you guys have a lot of interesting input. Like you guys are wanting me to build something that's got a refueling system. I do have something in my head for that. I will be able to modify this into a Mark II that has that. And once I have all these control mechanisms ironed out, that's when I will build the automated or the refueling system I have planned. It's going to be sick. But for now, we're going to observe this. So right now it's registering the pressure differences, which is fine. That's good. Yes. Notice how the pressure differences are changing, because it's still forcing it. It's either forcing it open or it's not doing something. Should be. Okay, so it's going at 1/10 the pressure, as it should be. Make sure that this valve is not open, because we want the valve to stay shut if it's not overpressured. So when it overboosts, we gotta worry. Okay, pressure difference is starting to fall because the valve is opening enough to let pressure through. Okay, that valve is good. Okie dokie. Notice how that upstream is definitely building up pressure. The valve is currently opening about 1/10, because I have it set to be 10%. So 10% of the pressure will be what the valve opens. So if it goes up to 100, then, which what I should do is make it to where it stops at 100, but we got to figure out where the safe pressure threshold. I have it set to like 8 on this fellow here, which that should cinch it. And once those balance out, I need to make it towards just an absolute number. But that's good, because that's a negative pressure. But I know for a fact, because I can hear it, that the generator is definitely going. Matter of fact, you can tell because the power is being reflected somewhat. Alright, so at this point we're generating about 3 units of force. I'm gonna say PSI, but I doubt it, because this boiler doesn't seem to like to be very pressurized. But the difference should always be a little bit. Like eventually it's gonna not be a difference. What I need to do is make it to where this regulator happens to do things like we'll probably start seeing issues when that hits 0, is what I'm thinking. But by then the pressure in the boiler should be about 8, which will be where the blow-off valve should start doing its thing. Huh. There we go. The objective, so we're going to set that to where it just blows off the excess pressure. register the pressure differential. I expect it to explode after it hits a certain amount. I think 10 psi might, or 10 pressure will be enough to blow it up. That's what I'm thinking. I'm assuming. Will 10 be the number that it explodes at? 10. Okay, so there's the number we're looking for. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and rig this up now. Danger zone is going to be 9. Okay. And then we are going to definitely, I bet I don't have power to it. What is going on here? So let's get in here and I'll show you what we're working with here. Okay, so we know for a fact that if it hits 10 psi, it explodes. So for the sake of argument, I'm going to write this down for myself. So boiler will go bang at 10 pressure. All right. So what we need to do is to prevent that from happening. We can have all the pressure we want after the boiler. Like if it goes through the pipes and it gets into the turbine, I have no idea how much pressure the turbine can get yet. So we're working on the boiler's pressure regulation configuration first. And as you can see, we have the flow value. When it's open, it'll require to open the valve, the system has to be at like 5 pressure. So that means that once the boiler hits 5, this valve, when it's detected that its pressure has exceeded 4.9, it will open up and start letting into the turbine to start turning the system. So that will by itself prevent a stall. Like if the turbine's trying to suck too much steam pressure all at once, it will cause the thing to stall. So that prevents a stall. Now we got to stop it from running away and exploding. And to do that, we're going to go through here. We already know that this regulator divide by 10 is pretty fair. The blinker needs to be activated. So that's where we went wrong. We didn't have a divide by 0. Okay. Make a pressure release. Attach that to the alert. And then we're going to put this ore right here. Now, what should happen, right, is we're going to get that valve restriction. And then we're going to have the alert, but we're also going to put the open valve. Open blow-off valve. Perfect. So what we're going to do with that is we're going to go in here, and at this point we're going to sit there and say we're going to do that, and then it's going to say, because at this point if any part of it is going over, so upstream, it basically, yeah, so when it says valve open, regulator closed, etc., if all this stuff works out, then it should be good. Pressure difference will always be referenced. Absolute value, however, I want an absolute value on this one. So we're going to change that, and then we're going to put this over here and then drop that down, correct? Okay, so beautiful. Now, if this works out right, we should have a fully functional pressure regulator. And then the alert, of course, is going to be on a 2-second blinker, which means a buzzer and a light will go off to indicate where that's happening. You could also put that on like an indicator panel on the bridge or something like that, or just about anything you want, really, to where it'll say, hey, stupid, I'm on, something's about to go bang, please do something. This will allow that to happen, and I might eventually add a manual blow-off circuit just in case we want to force it to just release all pressure for some reason. Now, like we said, we want it to be about 5 to open for now, and then 9 is the danger zone, and if it goes higher than 9, we know it's about to explode, so it's going to open the valve and purge itself. And for now, we're going to have it purge into the environment just so we can see it do it, and eventually we could sit there and put it in for other things. Anyway, so what we're going to do is we're going to do a time skip at this point, because I know it's going to take quite a few minutes for it to actually get up to steam. Like, this system is probably going to be best paired with some kind of a diesel system just to keep your power generation going what time you're waiting for the pressure to build up. You could do the coal, you could do jet turbine, you could do diesel, you could do whatever you want, whatever you need, just to keep it above a certain amount of power, because it's going to suck energy to do what we're doing. I could put the regulator on a standalone circuit that only like a breaker switch that says, okay, if I'm too low, then turn it on, suck power from the main grid. That's one way to do it, which would be okay. We have this right here set to just stay on. I might make it to where because you have to keep, because I have it set right now with a few circuits in there. They'll keep these engaged until they hit the maximum temperature threshold, like we saw in part 1 of this build series. I just tweaked a few things. I'll go through that in a little bit more detail later on as we develop this thing. But for now, just assume that almost everything in here is the same. Some of this got moved around, and yeah, so I'll see you when this thing gets up to spec, and then we will continue from there. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, we are at the point where we're going to start generating our steam power. And what we're wanting to see is that the regulator starts doing the thing. We're still not done tweaking it just yet, but for now, this will serve our purpose. What I eventually, excuse me, by the way, what we're planning on doing is adding a pressure, temperature, and all that kind of stuff to where this thing will start telling us all this information. I have this set up to show detailed information when we look over everything, just to make it easier so I don't have to hold the page up button the whole time. But what we're looking for is to add all this stuff to the regulator, so it'll just tell us all this beautiful information on the spot. But here we are about to generate steam inside the boiler, and we're going to hope that when it hits 9, that pressure regulator opens that blow-off valve and does not blow this thing up, because we know what happens if it hits 10. We already saw it. It's not Hiroshima bad, but you know, if there's no coolant going through this thing, which this is partly responsible for the coolant of the reactor and the fuel rods and the control rods, that could be bad, but should be fine. So next few seconds will determine if we succeeded or not. Go ahead and turn this tension over here. Should be. Yes. Yes. There we are. What I should do is divide that, like make some kind of a ratio formula. It'll tell you the difference between pressure. Like it'll give you like something to 1 difference. Is what I'm thinking. As we can see, this one has not. When this one goes above 0, that's when that should start climbing very steadily. At least I think it should start telling us. Like, logic would denote, right? Yeah, there it goes. Now it's starting to fall. Just takes it a minute. Of course, what time someone's setting up their vessel for travel anyway, they're going to be doing pre-launch checks and all that kind of stuff anyway, so... Yes. So as the pressure difference is dropping, the regulator is still working. And rest assured, I am going to force this thing to where you cannot bypass this, where you can't turn it off. I'm going to make it idiot-proof as best I can anyway. But if my calculations are correct, once this pressure difference hits about a 0, then we should be at about 7, 8, 9 psi, I would say. Which, assuming this is a boiler, you would think, because like even 100 years ago, like 100 psi was not unheard of for a boiler. I mean, they were huge, but yeah, like get your stuff going there, guys. Stop using aluminum for your boilers. We need hard steel, like carbon steel. All right, so our pressure differences are indeed dropping. Yes, indeedy. Yes, indeedy. So let's go have a look up here to see what the generator's doing. Okay. That's why it's not generating power. We need this to be at like 20 before it'll start producing enough power to really help the rest of the system. Which, if we do good, then it will, and then we can put a gearbox in it, and then we'll say that we have that on the first boiler, and then we just put more pressure regulators on this, and then we figure out how much the turbine can withstand before it explodes. So little by little, we're getting there, right? Luckily, this video is probably not going to be 30 minutes long. There's quite a few chunks there, and it'll give me time to figure out how much time it needs for this thing to build up, and then I'll be able to tell you in the next part how long it takes for this thing to actually get up the temperature. But yeah, I'm willing to bet you it's going to be at that critical point when it gets to about a 0 difference, because at that point the valve is completely open, there's nothing more that can be done, so pressure can't be released any faster than it is, which means this will open the blow-off valve and it'll cause it to calm itself. And if my thoughts are correct, I can put a one-way valve in here and it'll shoot it straight through the system. That's another way to do it. That way the boilers will blow something else up instead of themselves. Yeah, I was pretty close to right. So somewhere between 0.0 and 0.5, it should be at about the 8 point. Probably about a 0.3, I would say, would be about 7 or 8. I know for a fact that it reads 0 pressure difference, then it's wide open and it's probably going to explode. Alright, we're getting to that point. Valve's almost open. The safety threshold is being pushed. At this point, we're considered high pressure. Yeah. Valve's almost totally open now. When it hits 9, expect it to start doing the thing. Oh, hey. Look at that. Puff, puff. There we have it, folks. I don't think we're in any immediate danger now. Valve is indeed doing its job. valve's doing its job. And I gave it a, I wonder, is it going to be when it hits 0? I wonder. I wonder why it's going down. It couldn't possibly have anything to do with the fuel rods running out of juice already. There's no way. Right? What is going on? Give us infinite energy real quick. Because we're trying to do a pressure regulator episode here, folks. Maybe that had something to do with it. Huh. Now, if we do it the other way, I want to do a few more tweaks on this thing, but expect the regulator to be up on the workshop here pretty soon. It's going to be in its own little contained unit, and it'll have an inlet and outlet, and then the pressure release valve. You'll be able to tell them all because I'll have them color coded for you guys. They're colored this color to indicate steam, but for now, I think we got this. I think the regulator is doing its job. The regulator is closed. What we could do, what I think is happening, mind you, I think the valve is below where it needs to be. That's what I think, because it needs to be below 5 to open. And what I probably should have done was set it up to where it only opens at like 8. It'll take longer for you to generate power that way, but you can also make it to where it does other things, because right now we got a pressure regulator that's not holding the pressure as well as it could, unless it starts going up again, which it very well could. For some reason, it's not losing pressure at all right now. I don't know why it's doing that. Valve's open. Dump valve is closed. I wonder what that's doing. So, we know for a fact that we at least got a pressure valve now. I'm thinking that we don't have enough water is what it could be. In my mind, that could be exactly what it is. It says that we have enough water. I don't think so. Maybe. It looks like we do. Like, it looks like it barely took any, but that just doesn't compute with me. Why would it be under that kind of pressure otherwise? Is the condenser doing its job? No. Alright, so the next thing we're going to work on after this will be, I'm going to go ahead and get it to where it's actually doing the complete loop. I'll have the regulators ready to go for everybody else, and then we will be excellent. Because at this point, we just got to keep working it till we get there. So, as always, I thank you guys very much for checking out the video. It has been Chuck and Bucket as always. You guys have a fantastic rest of your day, wonderful evening, wash your damn hands, wear a mask, and I will see you guys in the next one. So till then, be sure to like and subscribe. You guys have a fantastic rest of your day.
Yeah.